What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Stephen Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever it is that you get around to watching this video, number one, thank you guys. I appreciate y'all tuning in and watching. It means a lot, guys. If you are new to the channel and you decide by the end of this video, hey, I like the amount of effort this person puts into their videos. I love the content. If you could do me a huge favor, guys, hit that subscribe button. Hey, it keeps YouTubers motivated. We could putting out more videos in return for your attention and your subscription, guys. So my OGs, you already know what I'm going to ask you to do. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. That thumbs up button is what tells us, or tells YouTube, I should say, to take this material and go ahead and push it out across the platform to other people who might enjoy this type of content. All right, guys, that spiel's over. Let's jump into today's topic. So, we've been covering safeties, guys. I talked about internal candidates, I talked about free agents. Now, I want to talk about what I would consider top of the border, first round, evaluations here. And there was some exciting news coming out from one of the mock drafts. So, a couple of days ago, Joe Marino from Draft Network put out his mock draft. And he's got the Eagles trading up to the top 10 pick. And I'll tell you what, I was a little shocked at the player that he thinks the Eagles are targeting with a top 10 pick. I got to tell you, it's a long shot. It's not going to, more than likely, not going to happen. I just don't see the Eagles valuing the position that highly. But I got to tell you, if it were to happen, I would not be dissatisfied, except for the fact that how many picks we'd have to give up to get there. I just don't think that's worth it in the draft this loaded. But nonetheless, I got to give the guy, I got to give him an A+ for effort on this one because, if you were to ask me, I'd say that we might move up a couple spots. More than likely, we'll stay still. Or if we're going to trade, I would think we're going to trade backwards if we can't target anyone. So to show the moxie to say you think this team's going to go from 21 to 10 and go get a player that we just traditionally don't value the position that highly, well, that takes a little bit of a gamble and a little bit of a risk on their part. So without further ado, let's talk about the top of the board when it comes to the safeties. All right, y'all. Let's jump into today's topic. So, just to introduce this topic about safety play and how serious some talent evaluators, some scouts are taking the Philadelphia Eagles' need for this. Because I mean, let's be honest, Rodney McLeod is likely not coming back, and I've advocated myself that it's probably the right decision not to bring him back because I think he lacks the range you need out of a free safety. And now there's a whole situation with Malcolm Jenkins going on. So some people really see this as probably the largest need on the Philadelphia Eagles, unfortunately. I know some of us would probably argue between like, well, we kind of need a corner. We need a lot more speed at the wide receiver position. I think you can flip a coin on a lot of these issues, guys, and no matter if it lands heads or tails, you ain't going to lose because you need upgrades everywhere pretty much. With that said, Joe Marino of the Draft Network. So if you guys aren't familiar with the Draft Network, it's one of these organizations where it has a group of scouts, 4 guys in particular that I normally watch, and like I'll read their scouting reports and I'll go review the film that they suggest you go review. He put out a mock draft in which he has the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is just how serious this is being taken, ladies and gents. He has the Philadelphia Eagles literally moving up to the 10th pick in the NFL draft, okay? And he's got the Eagles trading with the Browns for that selection. So the Eagles get the 10th pick, and the Cleveland Browns would acquire picks number 21, 53, 117, and a 2021 third-round selection. So 3 picks in this draft and 1 pick in the following draft for the Eagles to move up and grab Isaiah Simmons, who I've advocated before I think is a tough guy to classify. I said I thought Isaiah Simmons was more of a linebacker type in a Philadelphia Eagles type system. Other people see him as a safety. Isaiah Simmons was used very uniquely to where he was played almost as a Sam linebacker. He was played kind of in the box at the same time, kind of like the way you would use Malcolm Jenkins as a safety, kind of coming down. He's been used in the strong. He's been used in the free. I mean, the kid has a lot of range to him. The kid has range. The kid's a very good football player. It's not that I don't like the selection. I just don't like giving up 3 picks in this year's draft, this particular draft, to get one guy. I don't think this is the draft you do that in. I don't. Even if it's Henry Ruggs, I'm not giving up 3 picks for Henry Ruggs. I'm just not. I'm not personally, because I understand how deep this draft is, and I think that you have way more chances to hit later on in the draft than you will in any other draft. And I just think we have too many positions of need right now to be squandering picks that way. I'd almost be an advocate of the inverse of that scenario, which is to trade back and gain more picks if you don't have your guys available at 21. I think that's the smarter bang for your buck. But to be honest with you, the way they're projecting some of these guys, like Grant Delpit, some of these guys I'm going to talk about today, going before the 20th pick, that means some very good football players are going to slide down. I do think if that scenario were to play out, I honestly think the Eagles are going to be able to get someone of worth in on that 21st pick. I really do. I don't think you're going to be reaching for the fourth or fifth wide receiver with the 21st pick if you got these kind of guys going in the top 20, because there's some models that have, I mean, just a ton of quarterbacks going. I mean, I've watched a couple of these mock draft models where they got 4 or 5 quarterbacks going in the top 20 picks. If that happens, very good talent's going to slide down the draft board, and I would not sleep on that happening. It shouldn't happen, but we all know the way the quarterback market shakes out in a draft. Generally speaking, some crazy crap happens when it comes to quarterbacks. So, with that said, guys, I just wanted to relay this information to you and show you that this isn't a far-fetched like idea here that the Eagles are going to be really in this draft looking for safety help. I think a lot of people are picking up on the extent of this need. Now I'll say this: none of this means crap until after all the meetings get finalized with the combine, after the workouts at the combine, the pro days of these athletes, right? Free agency goes, and we see the first week or so of free agency to see where the Eagles go to address needs. Then you start getting a feel for the real targets of who the Eagles will be going after. So this crap doesn't mean crap yet, guys. Just know there are a lot of people who realize just how great of a need this is right now. So I just wanted to start us off with that, kind of idea and concept to begin this conversation. So obviously, I don't believe that Isaiah Simmons is going to be there for the Eagles to pick up. So let me get into who I think would be, and I've already done a video on Isaiah Simmons. If you go back to the linebackers, guys, I talked about day one selections. I went over why he's a good football player. Go see that video. I'll link it down below. That way you can just click on it if you want to see my evaluation of that player. Without further ado, guys, I want to talk about the two guys who probably will be first round selections and will be around that 21. They could go a little bit before us, maybe a little bit after us, but they're going to be right in that area. So without further ado, let's talk about those two safeties that got that first round evaluation to them that might be in the range of the Eagles select. So when I evaluate film, guys, what I like to do here is I like to, number one, see what the scouts are saying. Okay, go look at this film if you want to see them at their best. Look at this film if you want to see them at their worst. And I also try to make sure that I'm watching a certain level of competition, right? You want to see them match up against some of the better players to get a better feel of how their play would translate to the league. And I just thought this was a very good matchup because, number one, LSU has Randy Moss's son as their tight end. And I'm familiar with this kid because he started his actual college career at NC State, the school I graduated from, guys. He started there at NC State, and he had a year or two at NC State. He was a fairly good football player, very good at contested catches. When he was at NC State, he needed a lot more work on his route running, and I think he was really fighting an uphill battle to get playing time at NC State. But he's an athletic kid. I mean, you can see, and I can't tell because I don't remember his number at LSU, guys. I only know him from NC State, but he looks like he's the wing that's playing on the offense on this one. If you look to the offensive left, defensive right, he looks like that wing player. You got the running back in the backfield beside Burrow, okay? And you got what looks like to me, and I don't know Alabama's team that well, so trying to distinguish who's a safety, who's a linebacker, like they already run a lot of in-betweeners, like a Fearney. I've watched a lot of people talk about him as a linebacker. He's not a linebacker in the league, guys. If he's a linebacker, it's a 34 outside linebacker, and the 43, he'd be a pass rusher. He's not going to play linebacker. When you really look at what's out on the field, looks like to me as if they're aligned in a dime. Single linebacker, 6 defensive backs on the field. The guy they bring down on the box to play happens to be McKinney. So that gives you an idea of like where his fit and feel would be in Philadelphia, which I think that McKinney is a good fit and feel replacing Malcolm Jenkins as a strong safety in the box defender. Okay, a guy who can play back in a 2 deep, but a guy who's not shy to play around the line of scrimmage, especially as a safety. I think he fits that very well. I think that's the biggest separation not separation, but let's just say difference between Delpit and McKinney. I think McKinney's more of a strong. I think Delpit's more of a free. So on this play, there's going to be some good. There's going to be some bad. The good is I think he has a really good instinct where he takes away the original route by the tight end, I think. And then you see him double back to get to the flats. But he gets Jefferson he jukes him, man. He doesn't have that lateral quickness to kind of keep up with Jefferson, and Jefferson really exposes him down around there. So I'll roll the footage and I'll let you see the ending result of this play.
It's perfect. He fakes the toss to Jefferson and goes right back to Justin Jefferson. And Jefferson.
I mean, my interpretation of what the film says about Xavier McKinney is he's another one of these Isaiah Simmons. I don't think he's as talented as Isaiah Simmons, but I still think he's a very talented football player. I think he has some of the same kind of skill set to where you can play him as the free. You can play him as the strong. You can play him in the box. You can play him as a linebacker. He's got those same kind of, attributes to him. But I do think that Isaiah Simmons is a little more athletically gifted, thus making him, a little more able to do something like play a rangy free safety. I don't know that I would trust McKinney in that role. I do think that McKinney has very good instincts, but in terms of a foot race with some people who just have, elite, over the top speed, I think that could be a big problem with a guy like McKinney. But I do like what he is. If you can't get a Malcolm Jenkins, I could see the Eagles not trying to get all the way up to the number 10 pick and have to give up 3 picks, but maybe trading up, a pick or 2 or 3 to go get them. I could see the Eagles, kind of just waiting and see if the draft board falls down to them with a guy like Xavier McKinney. I can see that. I do think there's a situation to where if you cannot work this situation out with Malcolm Jenkins, which I do think is, in our best interest to work this out with Malcolm Jenkins, I do think a kid like Xavier McKinney can come in right away and give you quality reps and allow you to have some of the same versatility you've had for the past few seasons with Malcolm Jenkins playing that role. That's how I envision Xavier McKinney, and I think that's the biggest dividing factor between how I would grade Delpit and McKinney. I think they're both safeties, but I think they're different types of safeties. I think Delpit's more of that rangy, roving type safety, and I think McKinney's more of that in-the-box versatility guy that can bring a little physicality. I think he reads things very well, and I think when he reads it, even if he does lack some elite foot speed, I think because he reads the defense, or I'm sorry, not defense, but because he reads the quarterback and the wide receivers route tree so well, I think he can get away with a lot of things when it comes to pure athleticism with the footwork. I don't think that he's like this completely unathletic guy. I think he's very athletic, but you're talking about the NFL guys, you're talking about a different level of athleticism, even up from the college game. So, look, I like the kid. I like him a lot. I don't know where you would put him between him and Delpit because I don't think they're the same type of player. I don't. I think these are different types of players. I think they fill, different needs on the Eagles. So it's just my interpretation of what I'm seeing. I understand this kid is a first round grade. This is a kid, if you can get him 20 to 32, I think you take a kid like this. Now, if you're talking top 12, even top 15 for McKinney, I might back off a little bit, to be quite honest about it. But I do think the kid can play football. I think he's a pretty good football player. The next player on the list is Grant Delpit, who, when you watch his college film, guys, he was used very similar to the way McKinney was used in Alabama, but he can't play in the box the same way, guys. I hate to disappoint you. He's not a good tackler. He's not ideal to put in the box. That's not his strength. That's not where you need to play him. When you see him play back deep or in man, I think he is a much better safety than McKinney in terms of his range, how far he can get across the football field. I think he has better ball hawking skills than McKinney does. But I do think that they're different football players, although their college film will lead you to believe they're the same exact. No, their strengths are different. Their strengths are much different. So the one thing I'll tell you about Grant Delpit is this: big hitter, poor tackler. Keep that in mind. He will pop a guy over the middle. He does not wrap up and tackle well. He's got a lot to learn when it comes to how to wrap up, proper, angles, proper utilization, how to actually tackle. He's got a ways to grow there. With that said, he will pop someone coming across that middle pretty hard. He's very good. He can come down and cover your slot. He's fast enough. He's athletic enough. He's rangy at 6'3". The times he got beat, guys, it wasn't like he got beat because of, anything that was in his control. Like, he had great coverage. I mean, the guy just made a really good football play.
College football at 6'3", loves to be challenged to play man-to-man, but Kyle Trask makes...
I mean, that's what I look for, is if you're getting beat, how are you getting beat? Where's your coverage? Like, I mean, look, he got beat because the guy made a great play on the ball. I mean, in this Florida game, he went up against one of their tight ends who was like a 6'6" guy. And I thought it was a good battle all game long. But you look down and you turn to the film here, guys. What you'll see that Delpit is being utilized as that single high safety. And if you look, you can see that it looks like to me as if they're playing a joker concept with 3 down linemen. You got kind of 2 jokers, but one of them is clearly a coverage linebacker. You can just, I mean, if you take a look and you watch how this film goes out, like, he is ranging all across that field, guys. He's showing you that range that he has, how well he does at reading the receiver's route tree, reading the quarterback. And he makes a pretty good play on the football. I just wish he would have secured the catch in the end of it, but pretty good play.
All the timeouts. Trask from the pocket, hit as he throws. Dangerous throw.
In the end, guys, that's how I visualize Grant Delpit. A guy who can come down like a Rodney McLeod type, safety. A free safety, a guy who can play single high safety. He has the range. He gives you that range that you need to play that position. He's a little iffy on his tackling. He'll come up. He'll make a big hit. And I'll be honest with you. I don't think he's so great in the box when it comes to tackling, but I do think he flashes when you get him down inside of the flats. I think he's one of the first players to always get to the flats and make a play. But also, if you really watch the way that he will come off of his assignment, his coverage assignment, if he sees a quarterback scrambling or something like that, I think that is a strength of his game. And I'll give you an example of that.
They bring some pressure. Trask gets away and has room.
All right, ladies and gents, thank you all for tuning in. I know some of you guys were really looking forward to this video because I know there are a few guys who are huge Xavier McKinney fans. There's also a pretty large, segment of this fan base that's also Grant Delpit fans. So, questions of the day. Questions of the day, guys. Here's what I'd like to hear from you guys about, all right? I'm pulling them up, sorry. So, number 1, do you think the Eagles will trade up to draft Isaiah Simmons? Listen, it was on Monday. Joe Marino, one of these guys that works for the Draft Network, I believe he was a former scout in the league. Listen, he's proposing that the Eagles are going to try to jump from 21 to 10 to go get Isaiah Simmons. I think that's far-fetched just because, like I said, I don't think this is the draft you do that in. There's just, if there was a draft with less targets and you have very fewer opportunities to add players, then you go ahead and trade out those picks, let other people take risk on them. But I think in this draft where the draft is so deep at certain positions, I think you just hang back, man. I think you'll find value. Even trade back and gain more picks. You're going to find players if you do your homework correctly in this draft. This draft has very good talent in it. Number 2, do you think free safety or strong safety, my bad, guys, is the bigger need? Listen, we know that in all likelihood, Rodney McLeod is not back. And the flip side of that is we're not certain about the future of, Malcolm Jenkins either. And that's got to be brought into consideration. I mean, is the strong or the free the more important position in the way that we run our defense? Do you got more faith in Malcolm Jenkins signing back, or do you have more faith that the Eagles would let Malcolm Jenkins walk and maybe bring back Rodney McLeod? Or, what scenario you envision in your head that tells you, like, okay, this is the bigger need out of these 2 positions? And then number 3, guys, do you prefer Xavier McKinney or Grant Delpit? And then tell me why you prefer one over the other. So, hey, you can say I like Xavier McKinney. I think he's the better football player. I think he fits a need in the team that's a little more, pressing right now with the certain, future going on with Malcolm Jenkins. We can get a free safety in free agency, or we can sign back this guy or whatever, or we can move a guy to free safety, whatever, just give me your reasonings why on top of that, where you can say, I think Grant Delpit's the much better player and I think free safety is a need. So, you guys get the point here. All right, y'all, I want to, thank you guys for tuning in. If you're new, once again, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. All my OG subscribers, hit that thumbs up button. Y'all know what time it is. EAGLES. All right, y'all. Tomorrow, I'll probably switch gears and I'll talk about more of your day 2, day 3 values that you can get in the draft at the safety position. So that'll be upcoming. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out here.